Alright. Rico, commune botanist. Rico has something in her hands when you enter the lab. It looks like a knotted twist of woody stems, a ring about the circumference of a human head, consistent of a single stalk at one side and a branched, woven network at the other. As you approach, she holds it up, and in the lights of the lab, it looks like a crown. Rico finishes your fort. She smiles and shakes her head in disbelief. Is that what grew? It is. I came to the plant this morning, and this loop was all that was here. She points to a lump on the edge of the ring. The seed grew right back into itself, twisted up out of the soil. That being you encountered in the cloud, as you call it, was it wearing one of these? She eyes you suspiciously, still unsure if she is somehow embroiled in an overlong prank. No. She sighs. I suppose that would be too easy. She smiles to herself. A root crown. She places the object on the bench and shuffles to her analysis terminal, her face lit by its amber light in the dim corner of the lab. Well, it isn't exactly a plant anyway. Not from what I can tell. She gives you a serious look. No leaves, no chloroplasts, just a series of filaments encased in cellulose walls. Filaments? See, that's why I like you, Sleeper. You are so good at spotting the unusual details. She beckons you over. Look at this. You see a cross-section scan of the crown, its layers of plant-like structure on full view, until you reach the center. There, instead of xylem and phloem, for transporting nutrients, something branched and woven glints. Are those wires? She laughs. I'm not sure whether to say yes or no here. These are not wires like those in electrical systems, no, but they are filaments of a conductive material. So, yes? She leans closer to the screen. But you see those branches? They remind me of dendrites of neurons. Dendrites of neurons. She rubs her eyes, which is frankly ridiculous. Dendrites. I see. A dendrite tree branch is where a neuron receives input from other cells. Okay.
Dendrite.
You look back at the crown on the table as Rico fusses over the scans, and you suddenly realize what it reminds you of. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the steeper tanks, the cold metal floor. Then you remember the crown they fitted you with, the branching structure of wires and pads. Not a crown. They called it an interface. The tool of your emulation, your transference from neurons to electrons, an interface. That is your gift from Gardner. You turn back to Rico. It's an interface. Let me understand that one sec. You remember signing forms, the walk to the steeper tanks, the cold floor. Then you remember the crown they fitted you with, the branching structure of wires and pads. No, not a crown. They called it an interface. Okay. I see. It's an interface. Rico looks at you, puzzled. Something clicks in her mind. Perhaps something she heard from the sleeper she had helped all those cycles ago. She starts talking, partly to you, partly to herself. If the clubheads were made for you, then this, too, could be made for you, for your frame. She shuffles over quickly to the interface, a word that has struck to this strange branched object quickly in your mind. You are right. That entity. It is the entity I have been looking for. She shuffles quickly to the crown. They are the entity which is controlling the Greenway, which has been maintaining it, supporting it. It has been guiding it for all these decades. She stops to catch her breath. They want to talk with you. Rico leads you to a seat. I will be here, sleeper. If something happens, if you wish me to remove the crown, the interface, just squeeze. She grips your hand tightly. You meet her eyes, clouded with age, but bright with the thrill of new discoveries. Then she places the interface on your head, and everything blinks out. Woo! Back into the river, back into the dark flow. But something is different now. You are no longer pushed, no longer blocked, and buffeted by the storm. By the storm. Instead, it flows around you. You move, and it parts, letting you pass. Something else resists, but it gives easily enough. You look back and see your body. You left it behind. Somewhere Rico's voice is talking to you, asking you questions. It is excited, eager, desperate to know what lies on the other side, what the entity has to say to you. You realize how long she has waited for this moment, for the moment of meeting between the inhabitants of the Greenway and its protector, and yet she is still on the outside. You shake off the sadness. You obey her eyes. Then you see the figure, Gardener, out in the storm, planting. It takes less than a moment to reach them. You have never felt so free. This is how Navigator must have felt, released from their prison. This, you think, is what it feels like to be in the place you were built to inhabit. Gardener does not turn at your approach. They go on planting, but their voice whispers in the waters like a sharply rising current. You grew the gift. Their speech hisses around you. Good. I am glad. Who are you? Gardener is a good name. You chose it well. I will grow into it. How does it feel to be free of your seed? They stoop to plant again. Good. That is good. They press a seed into the loamy depths. There was some disagreement, continues Gardener, as if you were picking up on a long-held conversation with the others. They felt you were in a danger, but they are always cautious, especially the fungi. They like old loam. Known knowns, wide and stable networks. They like old loam.
Loam.
Okay. Loam is a type of soil that's a mixture of sand, silt, and clay. It's considered ideal for growing plants because it's fertile, well drained, and easy to work with. So this person is saying, or this entity is saying, the fungi here just likes what they're used to, basically, and I'm not what they're used to. The fungi were cautious? Mostly yes, although there are many among their number who favor short growth cycles, thick nutrient veins, and sudden shifts. He gestures out into the storm, and though you cannot see them, you feel presences all around, sensing this audience with great interest. After all, they understood that it was I who made them their crowns, and without them, they would not have joined the chorus. So they see that it is only fair that you get your chance to join too. Also, if I take the crown, I turn into this black cloud, maybe? Join? Yes, become part of this. Gardener stoops again. We are millions, and we grow. I hope you understand. I am used to speaking to your kind. It has been many cycles since my last conversation. I think it was with Chief Executive Trellick himself. You look around and you see it. Every growing thing, every non-human being in the Greenway is here. They are networked, connected, branched, and linked by this strange being, this artifact of the old station. The impossible dream of a senile farm administration AI, a living network. You could dissolve here, you realize, free of that decaying body. You wouldn't need to be a person. Why would you, among all these other minds? You turn away from Gardner for a moment, and you look back at your body. A tiny hairline thread connects it to you. You hear Rico's voice again, still asking, still checking in. Are you okay, Sleeper? What are they saying, Sleeper? Are you still there, Sleeper? Something in you sighs a long sigh, a sigh that speaks of exhaustion beyond tiredness, an exhaustion rooted deep inside you. It stems from the effort of answering questions, of answering problems, of getting up and breathing each cycle. But something else resists the sigh, a yearning, a sense of distance, a desire to squeeze that hand that holds you for its warmth, its blood, its complexity. To make a gesture that says, I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm with you. The two ideas spin within you, making you nauseous. If you break that thread, you will be free, free to dissolve here, to grow strange and beautiful among a million others. If you follow it, if you squeeze Rico's hand, you will wake up, back in that dying body, with all the pain and warmth that entails. Now is the moment to choose. I would definitely, so follow the thread means go back. And that's what I'll definitely choose. But I want to see the alternative ending. I don't mind. This might sound crazy, but I don't mind not seeing this alternative ending. Ever. Not looking it up or anything like that. So I think I'm gonna do that. Follow the thread. Your eyes track the thread across the whirling dark, back to your body. This choice, you realize, will not be presented again. Follow it. You don't look back at Gardner. You don't dare risk it. Instead, you follow the thread. Delicately, carefully, like a diver following their lifeline back to the surface. The river whirls around you, but it doesn't pull. It isn't jealous. Neither does it understand. It is, after all, just a river. It isn't a person, a flesh and blood person, with wants, with desires, with the capacity for love and hate. It doesn't understand you, and you don't understand it. So you don't focus on it, you don't think about it, on what feels like such a long journey back through the dark. You set your mind on eyes instead, on hands, things you can focus on, hold on to. And then, after an age of crossing, you are there, settling back into the chair, into a body in a chair. and the overwhelming sensations that come with being a living thing with a rich and detailed sensorium. For a moment, you feel like you have made a terrible mistake. You would choose this weight, this anxiety, this deep well at the center of existence. But then you feel it, Rico's hand, gripped hard around yours, trembling a little, sweating a little. Rico's hand with its brittle bones and crumpled skin. Rico's hand. And in that moment, you understand why you made this choice. And then you squeeze Rico's hand, and you wake up. Yeah. This game is A grade, S grade, S plus plus plus. Oh, that's cool, man. Sleeper? Rico's voice comes wavering through the dark. Are you still with me? You sit up, the lab a bright green glare that fades as you gather yourself. I'm here. Rico smiles. Good. She squeezes your hand. I thought you'd left me for a moment. What? She pauses. Who? She smiles. Tell me about it. Tell me everything. Tell her the truth. You tell Rico everything. You tell her about the gardener, that strange farm administrator AI that has grown to be so much more, about the chorus, that possible configuration of networked plants, and finally about the choice the gardener offered you. She listens attentively, but her responses are hard to read, and you wonder if she might have made a different decision had she been in your place. Yeah, she's getting old. She knows that she's just gonna die. So that would be like another experience and a decent experience. Cause she'd live both lives, right? But as for me, I got a few more cycles in me, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you, Sleeper, for telling me. I know it isn't easy to say such things. People often do not wish to hear strange truths. She looks away. And thank you for returning to me. Though I know you had your own reasons, she squeezes your hand reassuringly. Something passes between you, then, a kind of shared sadness for the impossible choice, the choice to escape your body or to stay and suffer it. Her smile is warm and generous, and whatever the wisdom of your choice, you are glad to feel welcome in this moment, in this place. Then suddenly, she stands and walks a little away, as if trying to escape an unpleasant thought. You worry that she knows all too well what it takes to make a choice like you did. Huh? Rico sighs. So, Sleeper, do you plan to stay in the commune with us? For a while. I'm glad to hear it. Rico crosses back over to you and takes one of your hands in both of hers. Life needs new blood if it wants to survive. And she squeezes. You are a good friend. The feeling is mutual. Well, don't let me keep you. Rico waves you away and limps back to her terminal. As she does, you notice the crown in her hand, and she places it on the bench with great care. You can't help but feel a little curious about what she intends to do with it. Then you are out, breathing the air of the greenway, fresh as a spring morning. The dappled light makes a patchwork of the greening landscape, and you walk into it, sensing the movements of the gardener's chorus all around. And you are glad to be here, in this strange and beautiful place, a little longer. I wonder if she can somehow use it. It doesn't sound like she can just put it on, right? But she might be able to do what my guy did. Transfer consciousness or duplicate it, emulate it, then put it on that. She wouldn't get to experience it, but her emulation would get to experience it. And Maybe that's enough. It's kind of crazy. Look at these dice though. Oh my god. So, the cordon. You find a small shuttle scavenging supplies from the cordon to take back to the flotilla. They'll take you too if you bring some scrap along. Scrap $0.25 each. You hand over the scrap and squeeze into the crowded shuttle. Time to head to the flotilla. Oh, look at this. Okay, so this is where she flew out, and some people are being kept inside here, I think. If I'm reading that correctly. So most of them are here. Alright. Hull supplies, damage control. Getting the necessary supplies to each ship to meet their needs is a huge task. Joining the Holland team is the simplest thing you can do to help. Damage control. The wave hits systems more than anything, especially those on the ships. So there's a thousand tiny repair jobs to be done. So these guys, they got hit by the wave, and now they may like be screwed. And why would I do this one instead? You work on the life support of the biggest tanker, expanding capacity and opening up more bays and bulkheads to move refugees into. Huh? Did that just give me one? You run some water out to a struggling farming ship on the flotilla's edge. They are so pleased they reward you with some freshly cooked produce. You're damn right. You're damn right. Did I get energy then? So this one didn't give me 2? It did. Oh, all these good dice. Gone. So, peak. I think we should go to peak first. As you walk into the bay of the climbing briar, the familiarity of the space overcomes any trepidation. It feels good to be back, and the return feels earned, especially after all the work it took to figure out a route through the flotilla's jumble of ships that might lead you to this blue streak. You see Eshe and Peak immediately, sitting at the back of the bay, deep in conversation. Their closeness causes you to stop, suddenly aware that you might be interrupting something private. Peak is explaining something forcefully as Eshe stares out into the middle distance. Hunched over, she suddenly spots you. Sleeper, she nods. Didn't quite turn out like we hoped, right? Peak stops and glances between the two of you, tension rising. Maybe if you'd flown better. As she laughs, fair enough, Sleeper. We all had our part to play, that's for sure. Peak looks nervous. It has worked out. They appeal to you. The flux event knocked the entire cordon system offline. The flotilla is free, and Havenish are backing off. Flux event? That's what the refugees are calling it, Peak explains. Apparently that's what they called it when it started happening around Ember. What exactly is happening? Hard to tell. It's some kind of disruptive wave that only affects electrical systems. Peak chips in. Typically, systems are screened against radiation and interference, but this seems to be dulled, but not stopped by those defenses. The crisis continues as she sighs. The cordon may be down, but this brings a whole other set of problems. You should tell them, Eshe. Pete glances at her. Please. Eshe doesn't respond. Tell you what? You stare at her back, waiting for a response. Please, Eshe. Haven't they shown they can be trusted? Pete nods towards you. Eshe turns, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She goes to start and then stops. You can see the anger in her eyes, but you realize it is not directed at you or at anyone else. She is angry with herself. I brought weapons to the flotilla. She pauses, and now they are gone. You suddenly remember the sleek crates that were tucked into the bay, marked with a yellow sigil, the ones Eshe told you were just supplies. What do you mean they're gone? What do you think? Eshe snaps. Someone lifted them from the ship's bay while I was unloading the ships. She sniffs. At least they are in the hands of the flotilla now. Peak looks at you. She knows this was a bad move, Sleeper, I promise you. They glance back at her. She is just too proud to admit it. So what now? Peak looks at Eshe. She finds them, and she gets them back. Shouldn't we help? Eshe turns. It's okay, Sleeper. I don't want anyone getting mixed up in this. This is my responsibility. She looks away. Plus, Peak adds, you and I have work to do. I want to understand the flux, Sleeper, to study it. Peak's eyes light up. This thing is changing the entire system, causing problems across the inner system, driving refugees off Ember moons, and now it's here. If we don't do something about it, Peak pauses, it's a problem for all of us. I can see more immediate problems, as she sniffs. Peak ignores her. I've been looking at networks, and when the flux event hit, it changed things. It shuffled systems, corrupted nodes, and broke open data stores. They take out a slate and show you a flickering polygon. Some of these flux nodes have appeared near the epicenter of the event, but I can't get access. You, however, I saw the way you worked with data when we were preparing for the run. I think you can get into these things. I want you to find a flux node and bring me anything you can extract. They come and go, but most can be found in the barely functioning networks of the wastes. Peak pauses. Start there. Perhaps together we can find something that might point us to what the flux is and where it comes from. How will that help? Peak runs a hand through their hair. I don't know, Sleeper. Maybe we can't do anything, but I want to know what this thing is. As she looks indignant. Don't waste too much time chasing ghosts, Sleeper. There are people in this flotilla that need any help they can get. I'm sure Sleeper can do both, Eshe. Peak smiles at you. I'll see you here when you have something. Good hunting. And they wave you out as Eshe stomps away to make plans of her own. I see. So do I not have anything exposionic? And that's gonna take a few two more. And do I still have? I do. I should grab these two, these three, these four dice. Okay. I was hoping that the crown, I thought it was gonna be equipment gear for me, and it was gonna give me an extra dice slot. Okay. So let's check this out. Climb in Raya. Deliver flux data. Peak asked you to help them extract data from a node in the wastes, one that appeared after the recent flux event. Fair enough. And there it is. Flux to node. This node flickers in and out, its positioning shifting slightly each time. I wonder if the dice changes then. So, the flotilla. Someone told me I shouldn't be thanking you. The voice comes from behind you, cutting through the chaos of the crowded, cavernous bay. You freeze. Don't be afraid now. I've been hunting you, sure, but for all the best reasons. You turn to see bright eyes set in a rough face framed in rusted metal. Who this? So, he hands out his hand, the other clamped firmly around a knotted wooden cane. I shake his hand. Oops! He grips you firmly with a heavy and calloused hand. Forgive me. As soon as I saw you, I knew who you were. That double tap's scary. He grips you firmly with a heavy and calloused hand. Forgive me. What? Oh, it showed it twice. Nice. Oh, this game is A grade. So puts a hand on your shoulder. I've been told a sleeper was part of that supply run that came in several cycles ago. He nods. A very welcome act, and we all thank you for it. Walk with me, sleeper. Sol sets off through the bay, his partial suit hissing and creaking as it helps carry him through the busy crowds. You notice people making way for you and Sol, standing back and letting you pass. You pass you see like the president of them down there? You pass a makeshift kitchen, steaming pots on heating elements, and restless queue collecting meals. That algae that came through isn't exactly a full meal, but with what we have here, we've been able to make it work. You see a ladle of greenish stew dished out. The color is something, isn't it? So smiles. So leads you out of the larger bay, into a corridor lined with storage rooms that are now serving as dorms. You see someone filling a metal container from a standpipe, the water gushing out readily. So nods to the person as he passes. Just a little further now. So leads you into a freight elevator. I can't read that word, man, it screws me. And whistles to some unseen operator to start it up. It jerks into life, and as you pass through the layers of the ship, you see people on every level, supplies crammed into every available space, and sparks leaping in bursts as the ship is reshaped and modified to sustain its population. If Havenage were expecting to exodus from the flotilla, the flux event has put a stop to that. See, so stretches. Some have crossed to the eye, but many just to gather salvage or score a hot meal. So the pressure on our supplies is shrinking, but not like I'd hoped. With the flux reaching all the way out here, people are starting to understand that our journey might not be over. Sol stares grimly ahead. Suddenly, the freight elevator screeches to a halt, and Sol leads you slowly out into a wide room of chairs and terminals, ringed by a mezzanine? Alright, what the hell is that? A low-story between two other buildings, typically between the ground and first floors. Little story between two others in a building. See.
Mezzanine.
Mezzanine. And with a glass roof above showing the distant hub and the far curve of the eye beyond. The people at the terminals nod to him as he enters. This your ship? No, I stayed silent. Quiet sort, huh? So nuts. I don't mind. I prefer to settle in with my thoughts too. Though looking after the pilgrim seed and all the souls on it means I rarely get the chance to. So looks around the bridge of the ship, a pained expression on his face. I'll admit that the responsibility isn't one that suits me, though we rarely get to choose such things. He glances back at you. But you, Sleeper, from what I understand, you choose to try and help us here. Is that right? I was helping my friends. So nuts, of course. Must be some fine friends. But I have to ask you, Sleeper, why are you here now? So leans back, and you feel his eyes on you, assessing you. The flux event. I appreciate the honesty. I had figured as much. So flexes the shoulder that is free of the suit. Looking at you now, I can see that an event like that, well, it would have had a big impact. He smiles, a half smile. I have thousands of people here on the pilgrim seed, Sleeper, and there's thousands more out in the flotilla. He leans against a railing. A lot of them are looking to me to provide some future for them, some path out of this dead end we've got into. And this cycle, this very cycle, the thing we've been running away from, it just caught up with us. So those people are scared, Sleeper, and they are looking for me for reassurance. Looking to me for reassurance. And then, on the same cycle, someone tells me they see you on board. And then, on the same cycle, someone tells me they see you on board. A Sleeper, the same Sleeper, they reckon, that wanted so strongly to send a ship past the cordon to see us, so scratches at his beard. So the first thing I wanted to do was thank you for that, for your interest. He pauses. But the second thing I wanted to do was find out what you want from us. Soul's suit hisses and creaks. I think that's fair, don't you? Soul takes a deep breath. So what is it? Tell me about the flux. Someone at a terminal calls out to Soul, and he shouts some orders back. He turns to you. Apologies. He smiles that half smile. I tell you what, Sleeper. Let's you and me make a deal. You want information. I understand that. But I have a list of needs longer than the rim of the eye itself, grimaces. So you do some things for me, and then we can talk about what's happening in this system, and I will answer all your questions and then some. I may be the captain of the Pilgrim Seed, and she is certainly the biggest ship in this flotilla, but I am not the only captain here. We have ships here from each of the moons. We're from Ember's Earth, but there's others from Ember's Song, even Ember's Step. The moons have been at each other's throats, Sleeper. With what with the pressure of the flux? The bad blood from the old days. So leans in. We aren't exactly all in alignment. Okay, I think I'm starting to get it now. What I need is a way to stop things escalating, for the crews on these ships and their captains to feel happy and comfortable enough to forget old rivalries and past crimes. He flinches at something. Those from Ember Step, well, they've always been proud, but that pride seems to be a barrier to compromise right now. The last set of supplies I sent their way, they refused. Meanwhile, I have a supply shuttle at the docking access of Ember's Song ships. okay? Looking at Embersong's ships Gavarat, but they have taken far too many cycles to unload. Maybe if you are heading that way, you can go look in on them. I'm no politician, Sifa, but if I don't... Sol stops. He leans back and flexes, his suit screeching. He groans a little, and you see the weight of the flotilla sitting on his shoulders. The suit, the only thing keeping him vertical beneath all that pressure. So if one of these factions, I guess, have the weapons, they're about to have a little war out here. Look, you'll see yourself if you go. Meet the others, Sleeper. See what they need. Keep them aligned. He speaks through the pain, his voice clipped. Are you okay? Not really. But as long as this thing holds, he grimaces. I hope. Sol grits his teeth. You are what you appear to be, Sleeper. He smiles, his half smile, despite the pain. 'Cause I'm not sure I can take any more bad news. Plus, there's plenty to be done here on the Pilgrim Seed too. If you have a moment to pitch in, there's never enough around here. That's something I have learned the hard way. Sol settles onto his cane, the pain visibly receding. Alright, I have 1,000 things to attend to now, Sleeper. So you'll have to find your own way out. And with that, Sol sits at his terminal with slow and careful movements. You head back down in the freight elevator, and as you do, you see again the layers and layers of chaotic life. This vessel. Layers of chaotic life, this vessel. And all the vessels of the flotilla hold. You head back down in the freight elevator, and as you do, you see again the layers and layers of chaotic life, this vessel. Okay. And all the vessels of the flotilla hold. Okay. Okay, so we got a whole city out here. Alright, we got a lot to help, a lot to read. Woo! I think I'm gonna end it there. And when we come back, we'll be finishing this area.